Tonight, a fragile quiet has fallen over a border that has seen too much conflict. The air is still, but beneath the calm, memories of recent violence linger in the minds of those who live here. In Southeast Asia, Thailand and Cambodia have agreed to an unconditional ceasefire, a breakthrough after weeks of escalating violence. This agreement marks a significant turning point, offering a rare moment of relief for both nations. The world has watched with concern as fighting erupted along their frontier, threatening not just lives but the stability of the entire region. News outlets from across the globe have gathered here, capturing every development as the situation unfolded. The sounds of artillery have faded, replaced by cautious whispers of diplomacy. The once busy checkpoints now stand silent, as both sides take stock of what has been lost and what might be regained. This is more than a dispute over a line on a map. It's about history, pride, and the human cost of conflict. Generations have been shaped by these tensions, and the scars of past battles are still visible in the landscape and in the hearts of the people. The ceasefire is a moment of hope for border communities who have lived in fear, fled their homes, and longed for normalcy. For many families, it means the possibility of returning to their villages, rebuilding their lives, and sending their children back to school without fear. For ASEAN, the regional bloc, this agreement is a crucial test of unity and diplomacy. The organization's ability to mediate and support peace is being closely scrutinized, as its members seek to prevent further instability in the region. The international community is watching to see if this fragile peace can hold. United Nations observers and foreign diplomats are on the ground, offering support and monitoring the situation closely. For those living along the border, the ceasefire is a chance to rebuild and dream of a future free from war. Farmers return to their fields and families begin to repair homes damaged by conflict, hoping that this peace will last. But a ceasefire is only the first step. The issues run deep, rooted in history and national identity. The ancient temples and monuments near the border are reminders of a shared past, but also of the disputes that have divided these nations. The path forward will require courage, compromise, and international support. Lasting peace will depend on continued dialogue, trust building, and the willingness of both sides to address difficult questions. Tonight, we explore how these nations reached this pivotal moment. We'll examine the events that led to the crisis and the efforts that brought both sides to the negotiating table. We'll look at the history, the recent escalation, and the diplomatic efforts that pulled them back from the edge. The journey to peace has been long and uncertain, but tonight, there is a glimmer of hope. This is a story of conflict, but more importantly, of the possibility of peace. It is a testament to the resilience of people who refuse to give up on a better future. The world is watching, and the stakes could not be higher. What happens here will shape not only the fate of these two nations, but the future of Southeast Asia as a whole. To truly understand today's fragile ceasefire, we must look back through the layers of history that shaped this region. The Thailand-Cambodia border has been a source of tension for over a century, its roots tangled in ambiguous maps drawn during the French colonial era when boundaries were often sketched with little regard for the people living there. Treaties meant to define the border left key areas, especially around ancient temples and sacred sites, poorly demarcated and open to interpretation. This ambiguity fueled generations of disputes over sovereignty, national pride, and the right to claim a shared heritage. Both nations share deep cultural ties with traditions and languages that overlap, but also a long history of rivalry and competition. Ancient temples built during the powerful Khmer Empire are claimed by both sides, serving as symbols of national pride and frequent flashpoints for conflict. Over the years, tensions have erupted into periodic clashes, sometimes escalating into violence, often stoked by politicians seeking nationalist support or to distract from domestic issues. The dispute is more than just lines on a map. It's a powerful domestic issue, stirring emotions and making compromise difficult for leaders on both sides. Each skirmish deepened mistrust, making the path to peace even more elusive and fragile. Generations have grown up viewing the other side with suspicion, their daily lives shaped by uncertainty and the ever-present possibility of conflict. The border dispute became a wound that would not heal, reopening with renewed pain each time tensions flared. Understanding this long and complicated history explains why the recent fighting was so serious, and why today's ceasefire is so significant, offering a rare glimmer of hope. Here, The past is always present, shaping the future in ways both seen and unseen. At the heart of this long-standing dispute stands the Preah Vihear Temple, a breathtaking masterpiece of Khmer architecture that has witnessed centuries of history and change. Perched atop a dramatic cliff, the temple commands sweeping views of the surrounding landscape, making it both a spiritual sanctuary and a strategic stronghold. Built over several centuries, Preah Vihear is more than just stone and carvings. It's a powerful symbol of Cambodia's golden age, national pride, and enduring cultural identity. In 1962, the International Court of Justice ruled that the temple belonged to Cambodia, but crucially, the court left the ownership of the surrounding land unresolved, sowing seeds of uncertainty. This ambiguity has fueled decades of tension and mistrust between the two nations, with each side holding firm to its claims. While the temple itself is officially Cambodian, the main and most practical access route is from Thailand, which continues to claim the adjacent land as its own. Soldiers from both countries have faced off for years, sometimes standing just meters apart, their presence a constant reminder of the unresolved dispute. In 2008, Cambodia's successful bid to list Preah Vihear as a UNESCO World Heritage Site reignited old tensions, drawing international attention to the fragile peace. Many in Thailand saw the UNESCO listing as an attempt to solidify Cambodia's claim, sparking protests and nationalist fervor. The result was a series of military buildups, deadly clashes, and a cultural treasure tragically transformed into a symbol of division and loss. The temple, once meant to unite people in faith and artistry, became a catalyst for conflict and a stark reminder of unresolved history. The 1962 ruling, while historic, never truly settled the matter, leaving both sides searching for closure and justice. Today, Preah Vihear remains a flashpoint, an ancient monument of peace and spirituality, now standing at the very center of a modern and ongoing struggle. In early 2025, fragile calm shattered as a minor skirmish near the Ta Moen Temple complex spiraled into the worst fighting in a decade. What began as a dispute over a patrol road escalated into heavy machine gun fire and mortar rounds. The violence spread along a 150-kilometer stretch, with both sides using heavy artillery and rocket systems. Explosions rocked villages, damaging homes, schools, and ancient temples. The local economy, reliant on cross-border trade and agriculture, ground to a halt. The dream of a peaceful border region was replaced by the nightmare of war. International alarm grew as rhetoric from both capitals hardened. Fears mounted that the conflict could escalate into full-scale war, threatening the entire region. The 2025 fighting was a stark reminder of how quickly old disputes can erupt. The need for a diplomatic solution became urgent. The border was burning, and the world could not look away. Beyond politics, the true cost of conflict is measured in human lives. As fighting intensified, tens of thousands fled, leaving behind homes and livelihoods. Families were separated, the elderly and children crowded into makeshift shelters with scarce resources. Children's education was disrupted, daily life became a struggle for survival. Aid workers described scenes of desperation and resilience, mothers comforting children as artillery echoed in the distance. A Thai farmer lost his home to a mortar shell. A Cambodian village elder saw his community become a ghost town. These stories reveal the heartbreak and devastation far from the headlines. For civilians, the border dispute is not abstract, it's a daily reality. Soldiers, many sharing culture and language, were ordered to fight each other. Dozens died, hundreds were wounded, and families mourned. The psychological scars will last long after the ceasefire. The human cost is a powerful reminder of why peace matters. For the displaced and grieving, the ceasefire brings hope. As the crisis deepened, the world could no longer stay silent. ASEAN, led by Malaysia, took the lead, shuttling between Bangkok and Phnom Penh, urging restraint and offering to host talks. Malaysia's neutrality made it a trusted mediator, proposing observer teams to monitor a ceasefire. The United States, with ties to both nations, called for an immediate end to violence and backed ASEAN's efforts. The U.S. Secretary of State pressed both sides to seek peace. The UN also weighed in, urging respect for humanitarian law and a return to dialogue. This collective diplomatic pressure made clear, a military solution was unacceptable. The world's message was unified: stop the fighting, start talking. The environment for a ceasefire was set. Global attention forced both sides to the table. The path to ceasefire was delicate and complex. Back-channel talks began even as fighting raged, with ASEAN, especially Malaysia, creating space for dialogue. The turning point came at an emergency ASEAN meeting in Kuala Lumpur, where Thai and Cambodian ministers met face-to-face. Both sides aired grievances and heard regional concerns about the conflict's impact. After days of negotiation, a breakthrough and unconditional ceasefire, with no side admitting fault. Both agreed to allow unarmed observers from Malaysia and Indonesia to monitor the truce. The public announcement brought cautious optimism and relief to soldiers and civilians alike. Leaders thanked ASEAN and Malaysia for mediation. The agreement was not a final piece but a vital first step. Diplomacy, not war, opened the path forward. Today, a fragile quiet holds along the border. For the first time in weeks, the guns are silent. The ceasefire halts the bloodshed and allows soldiers to stand down. It creates space for dialogue and lets humanitarian aid reach those in need. Displaced families see hope. They may soon return home. Authorities are assessing safety, clearing unexploded ordnance and repairing infrastructure. The process will be slow, but the promise of going home is powerful. For ASEAN, the ceasefire is a diplomatic victory, showing the bloc can manage its own disputes. It sets a precedent for future regional conflict resolution, but the peace is fragile. The underlying dispute remains unresolved. Troops remain close, and the risk of renewed clashes is real. The ceasefire is just the beginning of a new chapter. Its success depends on continued political will and regional engagement. The silence on the border is only the first step. Making the ceasefire permanent means clear rules, direct communication, and deploying ASEAN observers. Their presence will deter violence and build trust. Next, Thailand and Cambodia must negotiate the root issues, border demarcation and sovereignty. This will require technical experts, historians, and perhaps the International Court of Justice. Talks must be shielded from nationalist pressures to succeed. Lasting peace also means healing wounds between people through cross-border exchanges and joint projects. Civil society and business can help rebuild trust. The future depends on political courage and a shared vision for peace. For the first time in years, the road ahead leads toward hope, not war.